Ahoy, fellow prisoners of the mind!
And welcome aboard the Joy of Trek, a chilling podcast exploring the icy tendrils of the mindscape and the sinister ballet of Star Trek.
All of it. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
And in the grim recesses of your mind, it's your chief engineer, Greg.
Together, we're on a mission through the nightmarish dreamscape of Star Trek to find the dominant fears in every sleeping mind and the excellence in every episode.
Even the creepy clowns.
Ooh, because every episode must be someone's favorite, and it might as well be us.
So ignite your, fear-encrusted lanterns, okay, and join us as we dance through the Joy of Trek. Not entirely sure what I was thinking yesterday, but we'd come back from a fun little evening when I decided to do this prep, and apparently fear-encrusted lanterns were on my mind. Hello, everyone.
Well, I don't know how you feel about clowns in general, so this must have been en masse for that matter, so it must have been a bit of an interesting episode.
Oh, yes, because we are talking about Voyager, Season 2, Episode 23, The Thaw.
It was another low-budget episode, wasn't it?
Ooh, that's not something that I saw per se. Story by Richard Gaddis, teleplay by Joe Manosky, and directed by Marvin V. Rush. Now, Marvin V. Rush had previously been I want to say director of photography. I don't have it here. Chief, this is really early to call you in, but can you clarify what Marvin V. Rush had previously done on Star Trek?
Absolutely, Kaki. Marvin V. Rush was a cinematographer for Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, the Borg Experience for Las Vegas, as well as in Star Trek Enterprise. He was also a director for The Host in Next Generation, Favorite Son, and The Thaw in Voyager, and Mirror Darkly Part 2, and Terra Prime for Star Trek Enterprise.
So Rush had directed one episode before and clearly wanted to do another one, and he was really excited about this one because the Thaw, let's do the synopsis because we don't do that enough. In the Thaw, Voyager encounters the last survivors of a planetary disaster who have remained in suspended animation years after they should have been revived. They soon discover that the survivors are trapped within a virtual world that's being controlled by an entity known only as the Clown, who turns out to be the personification of fear, trapping the survivors and whoever else enters his world for his personal amusement.
Yes.
So there was actually quite a large set.
Right, it shows. Yeah.
Oh, well, they actually thought it was quite a small set, relatively speaking, considering how much they wanted to do there. But so they moved stuff around and made sure that the people in the background kept...
It looks like fairly simple construction, just brightly colored walls and everything. A couple of stages and a Barbie-esque guillotine.
Yeah. Apparently the set...
Or would it be a guillotine?
I think that's the French pronunciation. The English pronunciation is with a hard L.
Yeah.
Everybody who worked on this had a lot to say about it. And, well, the opinions were very divided.
Yeah.
Like, on the one hand, in 2014, IO9 ranked the Thaw's Clown as the 6th least threatening villain of Star Trek. But Screen Rant in 2021 ranked the Thaw as the 8th scariest episode of all Star Trek and the scariest of Voyager itself. So
I guess it really depends on how it hits you.
Yeah.
How you feel about this kind of, mental entrapment and being held up by your own feelings. I mean, all right. Did anybody suggest this episode to us?
This is the first episode that we have 2 recommendations from.
Oh, fantastic.
The first one is from Tonks Moriarty. Ooh, they've all... The form gives the opportunity for people to talk about themselves, so they sort of read like dating profiles, I've got to say. We've got Tonks Moriarty, they/them, a web developer from Leeds, the UK, involved in the local furry scene. Oh, and they say, thank you 3 for the positive vibes and being a shining light in fandom spaces. Oh, thank you, Tonks.
Oh.
And they recommended the Thaw, saying, quite frankly, I love malevolent clowns. Ooh, Tonks, I don't know that we're going to be, we have as much in common as maybe I previously thought. The idea something that is outwardly supposed to be joyous or happy is actually twisted and evil. This episode is so surreal and strange and weird, and it isn't afraid to be that. The Fear Clown establishes himself as a threat, and his interactions with Robert Picardo are fantastic. Yeah. This also reinforces a very important character trait about Janeway. You don't f*** with her crew.
Yeah. That's...
And we have another recommendation from NoWay, a 36-year-old .NET developer from the Netherlands who likes long walks on the beach and hot cocoa and... I'm not going to extrapolate on somebody else's dating profile.
No,
I just realized
fair point.
that's not cool. who starts off with, I honestly don't know how this episode was received, and if it received a lot of hate, but for me, it's one of my favorites in Voyager. Oh, that's awesome. The idea of having a computer make an interpretation of the subconscious fears and manifest them into a character sounds believable to me, and that this character realizes he has to keep his host alive/scared to keep himself from fading away is also something that seems to fit. There are some scenes that are a bit weird though, like Harry growing old and young. Hedging, no way. It's not needed. I love the clown's interactions with the Doctor as well, same as Tonks. First time the Doctor interrupts him.
Excuse me, you're not holding that properly.
The second time is where the clown remarks the Doc is good at bringing a party to a halt.
I don't get out very much.
I also don't fully understand why Janeway would program her hologram with a "ha-ha, got you" response after the people are free, but it sort of fits with Janeway since she does like winning. Yeah, true.
Well, and to that I would say, like, it's not programmed. She literally says, I programmed to react like Janeway, and that's probably how Janeway would react.
Yeah, we've seen her do it, and it's really, really valid.
Chief Engineer Greg here. Just want to give a shout out to Tonks and NoWay for this because, I love this episode of Voyager so much, especially the ending. So just thank you for letting me enjoy watching this episode again because, it's fantastic.
Okay, so do you have I don't see you leaking any plasma, although you did tell me that you had your first warp core dump written down.
Well,
when...
I say we eject the warp core!
Thank you for remembering the buttons! Oh, Shax's voice is a balm to my soul.
It's not really a warp core dump that I have, but it's like...
It's just a little toot of plasma.
It's the opening shot where you see Tom Paris sitting in the background. In the foreground, there's a stand which is holding some sheet music, and it says impromptu jazz.
Yes, it says jazz impromptu, which is apparently a...
Right, but it's a bit of a, contradiction in termine. Like, to have a musical piece called impromptu jazz, which jazz especially is not about like writing it down and playing it as it's written.
Oh, it can be like those compositions. I know what you're talking about, right? Jazz was a hugely complex musical movement and really encouraged improvisation and experimentation. I think like Thelonious Monk, who I've heard described as a music scientist, who was trying to figure out like what's the farthest you can get from expectation while still being music.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, well, what is music as?
I like that the Association of Dutch Jazz Players is called the Association of Improvising Musicians.
Oh, very good.
Or at least loosely translates as that. But
because we start with Harry doing clarinet practice, and it looks to me like Garrett Wong is playing this instrument competently. I have no idea whether that's the case. I'm also intrigued by everything else that he has in his room. He's got some weird things on the wall.
I completely forgot that we have Jeeves.
Oh yes, and they're oh my god, we're going to have some excellent Jeeves to use.
Oh yes,
like the clown's lines are so good, and there's so many.
There's a little bit of banter going on. Someone's banging on the wall, which is the ensign next door.
Yes, who apparently doesn't appreciate Ensign Kim practicing. And
we get a confirmation that there is such a thing as third shift.
Because Tom, who is capital A, capital T, also there, suggests, well...
We could get Baytar transferred to the night shift.
Couldn't do that. Could we?
Do you know this scene was filmed for a different episode?
Oh.
It was filmed for Death Wish, where it was cut, I presume, for time or tone. And it was just inserted here because it's so generic. Because it's just them two hanging out and then being called to the bridge by Chakotay.
Who has found a planet, which is... we've got a little... Well, not a little warp core breach coming. Maybe a little plasma leak somewhere. But it's coming up. Okay,
I've got a question. While we're still in this scene with Tom and Harry... What's that fucking thing on the table in front of Tom? It's this sort of crystal metallic tower.
It doesn't really come into focus very well.
Right.
So it's very hard to tell. I think it's just probably Kim's hookah or something.
He's got his bong. Yes, of course. Oh, wow. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, of course. That's the bong. That they sort of scrounged up their replicator rations to get a bong together.
Yeah. It's an Antarian hookah.
Oh, yes. It turns out that Harry is practicing because Susan Nickel and he had been working on something.
Yes, they were working on a holographic program for the orchestral movements in the dark or something.
Oh, nice. And Tom is deeply envious because, hey, I'm the slut.
Yes, I've been trying to get into her pants for the last 6 months.
Yeah, that's a totally cool way to talk about one of your colleagues. But aside from being horrible, yeah, he says, well, now that you mention it,
I've always wanted to learn how to play the drums.
Drums is a perfect instrument for Tom Paris.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
He's a total drummer. He's got that vibe.
Oh, I don't know if he can keep time, but that's why I'd never make a great drummer. I'm rubbish at keeping time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some people are just machines. Oh, I'm thinking of one called Sugarfoot Moffat, I think.
Yes, Michael Jackson's drummer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I forget who it was who said it. I think it was like legendary producer Quincy Jones who said, like, all drummers have sort of variations and sort of like every drummer in the world has a kind of signature departure from time except for Sugarfoot.
Yeah.
Man's a machine.
Michael Jackson himself said everybody makes mistakes except Sugarfoot.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you. So regular, like loads of people think that it was a drum machine. Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
We're faced with a fairly generic-looking planet out on the bridge.
Yeah, it's just like gasgiant.jpg or something.
Yeah, exactly. Neelix is on the bridge.
Captain, this used to be a major trading spot.
How long ago?
And Neelix doing his Neelix thing where he waits like, oh, yes, I have this useful information, waits for someone else to come up with that and go like, yeah, that's about what I was going to say.
I'd say about 19 years. Yeah.
He does that a lot, I've noticed.
He doesn't get anything useful to contribute this time around, which I think is a real shame. Ooh, I'm actually going to dump a little warp core.
Oh, go for it.
I say we eject the warp core.
Why this wasn't more about Neelix? I'm thinking about this right now. Neelix, of everyone on the crew, is the one who deals the most with fear.
Yeah.
Right? He's a scrappy little junker out in the galaxy. He's very mousy, he's very skittish. We see in his, not excellent relationship with Kes that he's jealous, envious. Like, he deals with that constantly, sometimes successfully, sometimes not.
Yeah.
He's an expert on the analysis of fear. And
True.
Maybe we should have had more of Neelix.
I guess so. One thing that I'm going to say against that. No, wait.
The other one. Shields up. Yes. We're getting better at these buttons. They are very far. Like, we're sitting pretty far apart. So it's kind of a...
We kind of have to reach out and reach for them. So they wouldn't send him in first. And after they figured out that he was an aspect of fear, Janeway would definitely not have sent him in there anymore. Because at that point, it becomes all about danger mitigation. And,
no, that's absolutely true.
So,
but his insights could have been more valuable because they really weren't in this episode. So what they find out about this planet is that it suffered an ecological catastrophe from which the 400,000 settlers could not possibly have escaped.
No, because there was a sudden solar flare which caused immediate ice age.
But after 19 years, the biosphere is recovering already.
Yes, it should have been starting at 15 years because they're being hailed from the surface. There's a message which is basically a do not disturb sign, which has been put up on the door, which is, we've gone into hibernation, we're on our own timeline, please do not interfere. And that's when you get the whole discussion about like, oh, it's been 19 years, and you can almost practically see Janeway checking her watch. But I'm like, well, in that case, we are going to interfere, because clearly their plan hasn't worked.
Because, that message was clearly intended to be, triggered if anybody arrived prematurely.
Yeah.
Although why they rejected the offers of help, I don't know.
Also, it was a trading post, so you'd expect that quite a lot of people came wandering by.
Yeah, I'm kind of choosing to accept this whole intro because we're looking to get to the interesting part. None of that is the interesting part. Why are there only 5 survivors out of a population of 400,000, and what were they going to do to restore their settlement? It doesn't matter.
Kim makes a bit of a rookie mistake because he had been scanning the planet, but he'd only been scanning the surface of the planet, and...
I think I've got something. 2.3 kilometers down. Extremely faint biosignatures, 3 humanoids.
Humanoids,
yes. Yeah. I think that's fair to call it a rookie mistake. I mean, he is...
Maybe they were in an area which was surrounded by a material that was 600 times more dense than lead.
Yes, but as soon as he starts looking for it, as soon as it occurs to him... Because, yes, of course, if you have an ecological disaster, moving underground is a great way to protect yourself from temperature variations and radiation and all whatnot.
Or glaciers moving around. 2 kilometers down, you should be safe from most glacial movement.
I like Janeway's sort of concerns. Because she doesn't want to make anything worse. She wants to get information.
Yeah.
And they settle on being able to beam up the survival pods, because there's stasis pods down there.
Yeah, okay.
I say we eject the warp.
One more.
Okay.
All right, so they beam up these 5 pods, which are standing there in a circle with a central computer.
No external power source.
No external power source. No connections whatsoever.
Yep.
We're just kind of beam the thing out. We're just going to assume that it's not connected to anything, that it's completely autonomous.
Not a massive infrastructure.
Yeah.
They're also... This is Doctor Who rules.
Right, yeah.
Right, and I think that's something that Voyager never fully committed to. But it's such a... I think it's... Like, I rewatched the first episode or first season of Voyager a few years ago, and it occurred to me just how wild these stories are. Almost like golden age of science fiction, paperbacks.
Right, yeah.
Really weird concepts. People aging in reverse. Stuff that's really not physically possible. But who cares? What if we did it anyway?
Yep, okay.
And that's the sort of Doctor Who ethos as well. Back in the day...
Get behind that.
Yeah, we can all see that this is just a dude in bubble wrap that we painted green, but we're calling him a swamp monster.
Yeah.
And if you buy in that he's a swamp monster, here's an awesome story about a swamp monster.
Yeah, okay. That they kind of try to let go of the hard sci-fi, which Star Trek never was, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was never really, really about that. It was more like, what if hard sci-fi was really easy to write? Oh no, that's mean. But so I kind of... Yeah, okay, fine. We have a lot to accept, but we accept that because that's not what's important about this episode.
Yeah, that's not what the story's about, yeah.
Exactly.
The pods get beamed in, and Janeway goes to check them out with Kes and Kim. And the first person they see when they wipe the dust off the pod is the guy from the transmission.
Identified himself as Viorsa, and this guy is played by, pardon me for pronunciation if it's incorrect, Thomas Kopacci, who is one of a handful of actors to appear on all 4 of the Rick Berman-era Star Trek TV spin-off series.
All right.
He's been a Romulan, he's been a Vulcan, he's been a bunch of aliens. I think he's right up there with J.G. Hertzler and Jeffrey Combs for having played a whole bunch of different aliens. The casting in this episode, by the way, is bananas. Because, how about I'll tell you about all these actors when we come across them.
I'm most interested in the clown because he looked very familiar to me.
Oh, okay.
For a moment there, I thought he was like the Spaniard from The Princess Bride, but
oh no, that's
not him.
That's Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya.
No, that's not the
Spaniard. You killed my father.
Spaniard
Prepare
is
to
the
die?
Spaniard is
Wait.
that. I don't think the guy, the poison guy. That's the Spaniard, right?
Oh, is he the? Oh, that's Wallace Shaw. He's Grand Nagus Zek.
Yes, I know, but it's like for a moment I thought it was him, but it's not.
You keep saying that word Spaniard. I do not think it means what you think it means.
What is he called? What's the character called?
I don't remember.
I think he's called
Sicilian or something.
The Sicilian. That's it. Yes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Got there in the end.
Close enough, it's not...
I'm sure Chief Greg was sitting there with his finger on the communicator going, he knows we can't hear him, but it must be so frustrating out there in the perilous mindscape or wherever he's floating around this time. I do hope he's okay.
Yes.
I always worry about him when I hear, where he is eventually. It doesn't seem like he's got a very safe life.
He does get around a lot.
I've heard that about you, Chief. Speaking of, I'd be interested in his dating profile. We love you, Chief.
Thank you.
Guys, teasing someone who has edit power over you and can make you say all kinds of fun things is an interesting choice. I don't know if I would make that choice myself, but you're more than welcome to do it yourself.
Okay, that's Michael McKean.
Right.
You know him as David St. Ubbins, the rhythm guitar player from Spinal Tap.
Oh, wow. I've only seen that movie once. But
he's been a bunch of other things. He's been in episodes of X-Files. You also know him from Better Call Saul. He's the older brother with the fear of electromagnetic radiation.
Oh, right, him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his credits are too numerous to mention. He's a fantastic comedic actor, and like many comedians, also an incredible dramatic actor.
Right. Knows how to show off his dark side.
And apparently a long-time acquaintance of Bob Picardo, who plays the Doctor.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when they got to play together, I mean, you see the sort of electricity in those scenes.
Yeah. So there's a bit of going on. Kim discovers that, like, oh, they're actually still alive and they're interfacing with the computer, and there's a little bit of theorizing.
Years ago, Starfleet used a technology to assist deep space travel that kept the body in stasis, but provided a mental landscape to keep the mind active and alert.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be a stimulating environment, but also to offer the inhabitants information about the outside world,
Right.
so that they could decide to emerge.
Yes, there was a program that shows the BIOS situation outside, and that should give them the option to get out of there, which they seem to have rejected it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Interestingly, actually, this is one that I really want to ask the chief about. Hello, Janeway says that years ago, Starfleet had a technology that did that provided mental stimulation to people in long-term stasis for space travel. I don't know that we know what that is.
Oh, okay.
Chief Greg, what can you tell us about that?
I was wondering that exact same thing myself, because I was thinking, is this just a throwaway line that writers come up with as a way to be like, oh yeah, no, I've heard of something like this? Or is it like a reference back to something? As far as I can tell, it's just a throwaway line about like, oh, I've heard something about this to make yourself seem knowledgeable, and that whole trope. I can't find anything more specifically about that. There's a lot of instances of stasis happening before Voyager in the timeline, but nothing with this mental landscape thing, unfortunately.
God, it's going to be a long wait. It's going to be a long wait to find that out. I wonder if I should climb into a stasis pod and then just ride out the next few.
It'd be an interesting way to do it, though, because like usually the whole idea behind stasis is that you are in stasis. You're asleep. You don't have anything to do. In this case, they know that basically you're going into the holodeck for 19 years.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's a great idea. I mean, of course, they might want to have the routine that allows them to get the environmental information. That might be a good reason to do it, but it still seems like a chancy
don't
thing.
know what stasis technology is,
And we don't
does.
know the psychology of these particular aliens. That might just be fine for them.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But yes, my first thought when we had 2 dead and 3 alive was, has there been murder most foul in the holodeck? Like, are they going to walk into a situation where there's going to be 2 of those people have been murdered by 1 or more of the other 3, and we have no idea what's going on? So that was absolutely wrong.
That would have been an interesting one.
My second idea was like, oh, it's going to be a 19-year-long orgy which has been going on in there, and a few of them have succumbed to the excitement.
That seems like a lot of work. Nice work if you're into it, I guess. Well, it turns out, a 19-year orgy of fear.
Yes.
There's one of several conference meetings in the Voyager observation lounge or conference room with the weird craps table that has the sort of slot down the middle and the circle. I've never understood that table. These chairs, I also think they're weird. They have this real 90s clip art look to them with just these weird shapes.
Fairly high-backed and...
Oh, I'm just noticing that the headrest is mobile.
Oh, okay.
B'Elanna has it on a different position than Neelix does. Oh, that's actually quite clever. And over on the monitor is the Doctor.
On the emergency holographic channel.
Who interrupt at a very specific moment.
Yeah.
But there's also the chime of the comms, as if he just showed up the second that someone said le mot juste that he was able to respond to.
Then why don't they get themselves out?
I don't know.
Maybe they like it in there.
I don't think so.
Because he observes that there was evidence of neural trauma.
Yes.
And that the people who died of terror.
Yes, and elevated levels of endocrine or whatever it is that he calls it. But it is decided that the only way to find out what's going on is to send in an away team.
Yep. Because it isn't safe to bring them out. They don't know the protocols. These brains have been dependent on this system for so long.
I guess they must kind of figure that they can extract the other people, because they're going to set a 5-minute timer, and after that there's going to be an extraction program.
Yep. At first I was a little confused why B'Elanna and Harry are chosen, but as engineers, that actually makes quite a bit of sense.
Yeah.
We've tapped into the system's recall subroutine program. I'll give you 5 minutes to look around, then I'm bringing you back. Consider this a test run.
Understood.
beepity boop, and they find themselves in this weird environment.
Yeah, it's like all bright primary colors. And yes, it looks a bit like a carnival, I suppose.
Oh, reminded me a bit of the sort of free spirit colony that
a little bit, yeah.
Lwaxana took Alexander to.
Or a scene that you might find in the original Battlestar Galactica when they're like on the...
on a pleasure planet.
On the pleasure planet or wherever it is. It's not called that in that time.
No, it was called the planet Carillon.
Right,
I think.
Where people were being like harvested for food for the lizard people underneath, wasn't it? Or am I confusing things now? I think there was something.
There's a little bit of V in there.
I think there was something like that going on, yes. We get our first shot from the clown, and it's made pretty damn obvious that he is the evil guy from the look that he gets to give the camera.
Yeah. Like, we even see over his shoulder for a while Harry and B'Elanna are looking around at this wonderland of people in brightly coloured, skin-tight suits doing circus tricks. A lot of these people came from Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, yes.
And they're greeted by a small woman, and she's called the Little Woman. And this is also one of those cool bits of casting. This actress is Patty Malone, and she's kind of legendary. Like, almost nobody has heard of her, but she unifies franchises because she also played Lumpy Waru, Chewbacca's son, in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Wow.
Yeah, and she played Tweaky in 3 episodes of Buck Rogers.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
cool.
You're new.
Yes, we are.
Where are you from?
Another town.
There aren't any other towns.
Then why the f*** did you ask me where I came from?
And then a creepy, giant-headed thing comes in and says,
"Perhaps I can help you."
That character is called the Spectre, played by Karel Struiken. Do you remember that name?
Ooh, and...
a lot of Dutch names in Star Trek.
First I'm going to go for Mr. Holm.
Correct.
Yeah.
His only other credit in Star Trek. Mr.
Nice.
Holm, Lwaxana's assistant or major domo, and this giant creature. I think it's even his voice, although, honestly, and Chief Greg will appreciate this, he sounds like an Elcor from Mass Effect.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Thank you. Thank you for your trust in me.
There's also like I said, a very Barbie-esque guillotine standing there with a traditional muscle man, the kind of guy that lifts weights and bends bars at carnivals.
He's really weirdly proportioned, or like his costume makes him seem really weirdly proportioned.
Well, it looks like he skipped leg day.
Yeah, he's got a tight sort of singlet, but he also has a face mask that's clearly too small for his head, so it gives him all these weird proportions. And yes, all the colors are wild. There was a decision made between the director Marvin V. Rush and the cinematographer to use a special type of filter that permits like primary colors through and kind of dampens middle wavelengths.
Right, yeah.
Quite a lot. It's a similar technology to what's used in color enhancing glasses for people with low color vision.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Just like isolating some of the more extreme frequencies and dampening everything else.
Yeah. The log of wood gets chopped by the guillotine, already setting a little bit of a macabre atmosphere, for which is still a fairly friendly party until the log gets chopped, and they decide, we might want to get out of here.
There's some dope music here. It's a weird sort of 90s dance music. It sounds like a kid's game show action song as they're being bustled along to the next segment of the game show. Time for the gack or the whatever.
Also, everybody's masks change.
Oh, wait, what?
Everybody's wearing colourful masks, but after the log drops and they get hustled by the crowd, everybody's wearing grey masks.
Oh, whoa! Whoa, you're right!
And it changes a few more times during the... when everything is good and friendly, then all the masks are colourful, and then when things get a little bit more tense and...
Dude, that's amazing!
Everybody's suddenly wearing grey masks.
You're completely right. I'm seeing it on the GIFs now. Oh, wow, that's so intense.
Harry gets put in the guillotine.
And the little woman comes across and sort of feather dusts the guillotine to make sure that,
I want to have it nice and neat. But just before the blade is dropped, our 3 aliens arrive and they go stop!
Yes.
They're aliens, and they won't be alone. Kill them, and their shipmates will shut down the program.
Let him go.
And you can see how quickly the clown's emotions change. He's fascinating to watch. He's so reactive, I want to say. But he's also very intelligent. He has complex mental models that he's maintaining. But he's also very vulnerable to whims. He's really interesting. Michael McKean obviously does a fantastic job. He shows how much he knows because, like, he addresses B'Elanna.
You're like me. A little of this and a little of that.
Because she's of two worlds, and shows just how much he knows about everyone here. He can name them.
Yeah.
He knows their background. Talks to Harry Kim. Oh, you're an engineer. He knows what that is.
He keeps chiding Kim almost about like his engineering mind and how he keeps thinking in solutions and trying to fix things and.
Oh yeah. That must be quite offensive to someone who exists as an emotion. Like, oh, you want to live in a world without me in it. There's a bit of a component of Inside Out, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've actually got that written down. What if feelings had feelings?
Oh, yes. Now, I'm really curious about these other beings. Let's take a little moment to sort of speculate on that, because it seems like fear is the only real sort of entity here. Almost like the other, his friends and the dancers and those performers are like reflections of him. What do you think they are?
Okay, I think that this is the party department of the original simulation, where they were just going to have a nice little relaxed, party for about 15 years while the environment was regulating themselves.
And you think there's more environments in the...
There might be.
Right.
It would make sense that there's more than just this one room.
You'd hope, yeah.
Well, basically what happened, as I understand it, their fears of outside world might not come back, that they might not survive, the freeze-drying process, that got manifested by the feedback loop built into the system and created this persona.
Yes.
Who then started taking over, because, that's what fear does. They got captured by their own fear. They got paralyzed by fear.
I think that's really valid. Yeah, because they've had no external stimulus, and without, experience, you can't really overcome fear.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, once you get paralyzed by it, you need something to snap you out of it.
Yeah, or just the experience of doing the thing that you're afraid of anyway, and then you learn more about the world.
But
and then
that's impossible to do here because fear controls the environment, and that's why, he starts with demonstrating the chop block, and he's perfectly willing to kill Kim immediately in order to increase his hold over presumably B'Elanna and the others as well. I need you guys.
Yes.
But I'm not above killing one or two of you.
Because that's what we learn. His existence, everyone's existence in this environment, all these virtual beings, depends on someone being there to experience it.
Yes. It has to be a brain in the feedback loop.
Yep. It has to be a living brain. It can't be artificial.
Well, it could probably be, but it wouldn't be the same.
I think that's based on knowledge that Vyorsa has as one of the people who created this computer system, because that's what makes fear so insidious. So the clown in this case, he actually has access to everybody's brain. There's a few minutes delay.
Yes, but eventually once it gets signaled in, then there's he can kind of read their minds.
Yep, he has so much knowledge, he has so much insight, but I really like this concept. That's just a few minutes delay before he can actually know what someone was thinking live.
Yeah. Beep boop, wake up call, 5-minute timer's up.
Yeah, and Harry and B'Elanna go, well,
time to go.
Time to go. And the clowns, he does this thing where he faces away from them and then makes a threat.
If you leave, one of them will die. One of them will die. Try it and see. If you leave, he dies.
And you can see that the person that he's pointing at goes, oh shit, I should have known that this was going to happen when I realized I had the lowest billing out of all the guest actors. Oh, and the worst wig. I've just got these bangs hanging off the side of my face.
I mean, he's all right, I guess. Is he the one? No, he's not the one who dies in the end, so...
Isn't he?
No, it's Videla.
Oh, yeah. Vyorsa, you're
Vyorsa,
right.
That's the one.
Ooh. I wonder how many times Thomas Capacci has died in Star Trek. Chief?
Of the 7 characters in which Thomas Capacci has played, 4 of them have died. So he does not have a very good track record when it comes to, living through his appearances.
Thank you.
The bodies are returning to stasis condition, Captain.
Someone is terminating the recall command from inside the system.
Yeah, Kes is there in her capacity as a nurse, because this was before the Doctor was able to freely move around the ship. She's got a lovely outfit on. She's got a sort of like a velour overdress and a shirt, and she's making observations. Oh, they're in trouble, but they're kind of stuck in there. Kim is very confident, but he's just on the cusp of actually being able to influence the clown.
Trying to get the better of me? Trying to trick me? I know everything you know, Harry Kim. I know how much you miss Libby. I know how you can never hit that G sharp in the Mozart concerto. Do you think I don't know you're trying to defeat me?
He's always had this interesting sort of combination of not being very experienced, but he is a fully trained Starfleet officer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's department head as an ensign, so he's no rookie.
The clown goes off to a little huddle with his friends, which he does quite cutely by not really teleporting, but doing this like off camera and suddenly somewhere else thing.
Yes, the camera moves, and there he is with his friends, and they do this beautiful mime where they sort of look at Harry and B'Elanna, turn away, glance at them again, and then huddle. It's such a good reef. And our heroes huddle with their fellow prisoners, and they learn a lot of information.
Who wished him up?
It happened over months without our even realizing it. All of us had fears about survival, recovery. We never anticipated the computer would manifest those fears into him.
The clown returns and tells them that B'Elanna is the one who's going to be let out in order to communicate his demands to Janeway.
Because Harry is Janeway's favorite. And she won't let him come to harm.
So I guess that must be Kim thinking that that's the case?
I mean, it's true. It really is true.
Yes, but like, I mean, it must be some shared knowledge, belief between B'Elanna and Harry that that's the case. Because that's the only information. That's the only information the clown has.
It goes unspoken.
Yeah.
Like you don't see B'Elanna going, wait, what the hold on.
It's like those masked intruders who come barging in and like tell them that to like grab mom and the kids and then tell them, okay, which one are we going to... we're going to kill one of your kids. You tell us which one.
Wait,
and
hold on. How is that the same?
And then at the end, finally, mom picks one and then it's like, stop. And they go like, all right, well, now you know that thing. And you tell the kid, like, now we know who the favorite one is. And then they leave again.
Whoa. What?
I think it's some sort of weird dark comedy sketch or something.
Okay. Whew. A lot of nightmares coming out of here.
Well, that's what the episode's about, isn't it? It's about fear.
Yeah, so now there's another conference. Do you notice how the conferences get increasingly darker?
Oh, lighted-wise?
Yeah. Now it's kind of muted because they realize that they're dealing with fear, and now they start really philosophizing. And this is where I was disappointed that Neelix only gets to give some pretty poor advice, like,
maybe we should try to make them laugh. A good joke just... seems to make a fear dissolve. Well, it does in me, anyway.
And they completely ignore him and just move on. It's interesting that Janeway has some observations. Like, fear is not a bad thing. Like, it tells us our limits.
Yeah.
Makes us alert. It does things like, I'm actually comparing it to an episode of Enterprise that we watched recently where Red Alert was introduced as a sort of rapid response and like warming up systems. Being afraid... like, it gets your heart pumping, gets your blood oxygenated so that when you need to run, you're already in like a high-performance state. This was from Marvin Rush. He gave some notes to Joe Manosky that there ought to be some mention that fear is actually pretty healthy.
Fear is the mind killer.
Well, okay, if we go to Dune... And then I think immediately about my favorite line, I think it's from Children of Dune, where Paul Atreides' children, strap in everybody, this is one of those ones, are with their grandmother, the lady Jessica, who's worrying about something, and his children are kind of cheeky, and they look at the grandmother and whisper to each other, I think she's about to let fear pass over her and through her. So... the decision is we're going to negotiate with him on the sort of absolute basis, on the thing that he needs is his survival. The negotiation is going to be based on that. This comes after some taunting, because the clown is kind of fixated on Harry.
Yeah.
Who refuses to be cowed. He's got that young officer courage, which he really can't stand, and he really wants to undermine because he knows that there's some insecurity lurking underneath. And he really torments Harry by realizing when one of the alien women comes to his defense, hey, he doesn't know yet.
He's new, yes.
And you're old.
Oh, yes, because you're thinking about escape, and I don't like that, because that is hope, and hope is the antithesis of fear.
Yep.
So he starts to pick on Harry a little bit, yes, and he makes him old.
Very successful old person makeup, I think. I wonder for these if the makeup artists use like photos of actors' ancestors.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
As inspiration, but Yeah, he looks like a very convincing older Asian gentleman.
Right.
Yes, I know how you hate to feel like the baby on the crew. Oh, what's the matter, Harry? Oh, does my costume frighten you, huh?
And then we get a little crying Asian baby in a cute little Star Trek uniform.
Oh, it's so adorable. That baby is having the worst time.
Yes. Which is, it must be really difficult to act while, like, you have got a crying baby on screen. Or maybe maybe it was like it just started crying and they rolled with it.
I wonder if it's actually Michael McKean holding this baby. I think so. Because sometimes, you can have, like, the parent or the caregiver, like, in the makeup.
Yeah, I was going to say, or in this case, it would be easy enough to, like, put the parent or the caregiver in one of the costumes. And, like, just get them in one of the party people costumes and have them standing right there next to it.
Maybe not the Spectre, the giant monster-headed that's looming over that I really wouldn't have enjoyed. I wonder if this person, this baby must be an adult by now, whether they remember this particular day.
Probably not. Babies don't remember things like that.
There's one moment where he goes, he goes, the whoops-a-daisy game where he bumps this baby up and down, and there's one shot where he throws him way up in the air, which I sincerely hope is a puppet.
Yeah.
The things I do for you boys, because I did go back to listen through the Delta Flyers, which is Harry and Kim's actors, Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wong, talking about all these episodes of Voyager, and they had Marvin Rush on for this episode of the podcast. So I can tell you, it's not a real baby. Marvin wanted to throw the real baby up in the air, but they did not let him do that. But yes, it is a puppet that was made by prop master Alan Sims, and boy, can I just tell you, it works in motion, but if you're just looking at it, it is more nightmare fuel than the clown. Go to Memory Alpha and look up the Thaw and just scroll down to props, makeup, and sets and see this terrifying picture of this baby prop they made for it, because it's really unnerving, but it works in motion.
But his torment of Harry Kim, like, first of all, it continues with a big, long speech that he holds with Kim and a little walk and talk, while there's this wonderful sort of ribbon dance being done behind them.
Yes.
That's just absolutely captivating.
There's also a fire-breathing mask behind him, which almost catches fire when it starts up.
Oh, yikes.
You can see that it's actually kind of like not just coming out of its mouth as it does later on, but it's actually
I see what you mean.
It's covering on the mask is actually burning. It's like, okay... Bit of fuel must have spilled out. Yeah.
We keep on filming.
Yeah. Nobody said cut yet. It's like
while one of these masked characters is on fire in the background and tells a terrible story about a time in Harry's life when he wandered away from his parents while visiting a
hospital.
Yeah.
And he wandered around and he saw things that he shouldn't, and picking a little at the scabs of a bit of a childhood trauma there.
Yeah, and you see Harry's resolve is rapidly deteriorating. It's breaking down as he's being strapped to this table. He seems entirely powerless to help himself. And it's the cackling of all the people around that make this so terrifying.
Oh, yes.
Right? It's that Mad Max thing where you're surrounded by people who are genuinely insane and reveling in your suffering, and it's so terrifying.
As he speaks there, I had a little squee moment. It's shortly after the mask scene, and he's kind of wandering him off, and there's a really big yellow-headed mask in the background. There's a red one in the scene as well somewhere later on. And I'm just like,
that looks a bit like Spock.
Well, it does a bit. What it really reminded me of was a scene in Moonraker, I believe it is, because during the carnival in Rio, when there's a little switcheroo going on, it's Jaws who's wearing that mask.
Oh, James Bond.
Yes,
okay,
James Bond. Sorry, I said Moonraker.
Yeah.
And they use very similar masks. I was wondering if it's like a copy or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember what it looks like, but
whether it's
I remember it was like one of those big head things, and I think first Jaws is wearing it, and I think later Bond uses it to escape through the crowd or something.
Interesting.
Do a little switcheroo.
The clown is given a mask and a pretty scary scalpel.
That's not a scalpel, that's a gardening tool.
It's supposed to be a scalpel. I know that it's a dude in bubble wrap that we painted green, but if you imagine it's a scalpel, he's holding it really close, and then boom, in comes the doctor.
Yeah, you're holding it wrong.
Correct positioning of the index finger is necessary for optimal dexterity.
And with such shocking confidence. Like, everybody falls quiet. Oh, here's someone who does not give two shits about anything we're doing. And he just casually, like, unstraps Harry Kim. Like,
I'm Captain Janeway's representative. I'm here to negotiate with you.
And the clown goes, well, hold on, I can't read you. Yes, well, I have a very trustworthy face, says the doctor.
We would provide continuing input from a simulated brain. A computer model that would generate...
Simulated brain? Simulated?
I myself have a comparable...
It won't work. It's a lie. Tell him, Harry.
And he even brings Vyorsa up there. No, I have this knowledge from your brain. You tell him. And Vyorsa says, yeah, well, no, it might be possible with a slight recalibration of the optronic pathways.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're lying. And he tosses him away. So that's not going to be an option. He makes it very clear. The doctor makes it very clear to the clown, hey, Janeway doesn't around.
No.
You've got to take her seriously because she's out there.
She's got her hand on the off switch, and he goes, she would never kill her own crew. And Harry is like, I'd rather die than live here, and she knows that. And and then the clown knows that because he knows that, like, Janeway will do everything she can, but she's not going to leave them in this situation.
Yes,
she'll do anything for her crew, but she won't do that.
Now go away and tell your Captain Janeway I'm disappointed. I expected more from her.
If we could
Go away!
And now we see them conversing in sickbay, where the doctor's being debriefed. Janeway's there, Chakotay's there, B'Elanna's there, and Tuvok's there.
And they're starting to home in a little bit more on, that he is the aspect of fear.
Yes, he's unpredictable, inconsistent, everything you'd expect from fear. They talk about how their initial offer for an artificial brain was rejected, and B'Elanna sort of points out, well, what he said about, like, recalibrating the optronic pathways, it doesn't make any sense. And then Tuvok goes, well, then why did he say it?
Yeah, there must be something else going on here.
And there's technobabble.
Plan is formed to, instead of taking them out of the environment, is to take the environment out of them.
And why did he not notice that Vyorsa was conveying this information? They go, well, it must be because he was, like, distracted by too many other things. So then these kind of deceptions...
Technically, he knows it, he has this information, but if he's not focusing on it, he has to realize that he needs to dig something for it. It's like computers, like, all-knowing, but not necessarily all reacting. It's not...
Oh, yeah.
Not,
you have a certain amount of concentration.
So omniscient, but not on, well, whatever. You know what I mean?
No, we'll get there, yeah. More fire breathing in this world where the clown is having a sock.
Yes.
He goes, I'm in a bad mood.
You put me in a bad mood.
The little woman tells him,
don't be a poop.
Yes.
Which is a gif that I'm going to be using a lot, let me tell you.
I'm feeling sorry for myself. Well, take it out on them then. Oh, that's a great idea. Ooh. Let's go do that. Let's go play the insect game.
Yeah, whatever that is.
You can see him, like, walking up and, like, snatching at the air like he's trying to grab bugs out of the air or something.
And once again, his fun is spoiled by the appearance of the doctor, who goes, "It me again. Hello."
Hey, oh, yes, we are here to negotiate once more. We are going to give you a cloaking device, it's a red herring, of course.
Of course.
But yes.
I'm talking about a device that would shield you from being detected by any other interstellar visitors.
Occasionally getting fresh meat should be attractive to him, but he really has no way to trap people in the system. They have to voluntarily hook themselves up.
Come in, yes.
And they could easily turn it off. So, yeah, for him it's quite attractive to be concealed, but it is a ruse. And meanwhile, B'Elanna is out there, like, wedging open a panel and looking at, there's 40 optronic pathways.
Yes, it's going to take him about 2 minutes, which is about right considering how quickly she manages to disable them at first.
And she takes out her sonic screwdriver and she starts, like, reversing the polarity of the neutron flow on a conveniently numbered set of colored lights.
And as the discussions inside are continuing, you see people just, like, slowly disappearing from the background.
I had a hard time seeing it. I heard it happening, and I knew it was happening.
Yeah.
Right? I could tell that, like, people should be removing, but I couldn't quite see them vanish.
You could keep a close eye on the background, and you could see that happen.
Until there were very few left, and then suddenly the clown notices.
You tricked me! It's an attack! It's an attack! Red alert! Red alert!
And he retaliates very extremely by taking Vyorsa, whom he blames for conveying this information.
Well, I guess he figures out, like, and now that he looks into it, he starts to realize what's going on.
Brings out Barbie's first guillotine.
Yep.
Straps him in it, and this was really hard to watch. Like, all this screaming and laughing and the terror. Do you remember this episode from your
I don't think I made it this far.
Really? It's only season 2.
Yeah, end of it, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that your Voyager voyage?
I don't recall how much Voyager I was watching it. Okay, as I seem to recall, was that DS9? I mean, at the time it was airing. Mm-hmm. When did it start airing?
It started in 95, so this would have been coming out in 96,
that was around a period that I stopped watching a lot less live TV.
Yeah.
And there was the issue with, of course, episodes and hiatus and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was airing on the BBC, I seem to recall.
Yeah, I mean, I had access to the BBC.
In the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me that was... I know what you're talking about. I had the same with Season 7 of Voyager. When we did a rewatch a few years back, I discovered, whoa, there's a whole bunch of episodes I've never seen.
Yeah.
Which was really fantastic. To be a Star Trek fan and to discover that there was a bunch of episodes that you
just completely missed.
New.
Yeah.
So cool. But I remember this one. Oh, I was glad when it was over because it's scary, it's terrifying. There's so much screaming and laughing.
B'Elanna is still disabling the pathways and shields up. The little force field gets thrown up over the optronic pathways and she's...
They see that one of these trapped aliens is dead.
Well, that's first they notice the mounting tension, and then when the blade drops, so to speak, then yes, he dies instantly. They don't try to take him out. They don't try to revive him. They're just like...
Yeah, I had that written down initially, and then I immediately abandoned that. Clearly there are reasons why this isn't possible. Their brains are dependent on this computer system. The doctor, reviving them just isn't an option, because it wasn't a regular heart attack.
Right. They also leave the dead guy in the pod, by the way. I noticed that much later on in one of the scenes. He's still in the pod there.
That's grim.
Yes.
Because we've seen from the other ones, they decay in there.
Yeah, but it'll probably take a while.
Cool.
Also, how did they suddenly start decaying if they're still in state? Or does the stasis get turned off when they die?
Well, we don't know what the definition of stasis is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just immobility and life support, but they're still aging.
Okay, yeah.
No, maybe they're just... It's a long-term healthful sleep, so you don't get atrophied. Maybe that's what the deal is.
Captain, this one's norepinephrine levels are approaching critical.
You're next! You're next!
Restore the entire program.
Yep.
And the clown is, we've won. It's like a great cut that between the dour atmosphere in the room where the pods are and the party atmosphere in the simulation.
Yep. Because Janeway orders B'Elanna, turn the pathways back on, bring everything back. And yes, this was a triumph for the villain.
Celebration, start the music. Doc is talking to Janeway to tell her that, you did the right thing. You saved everybody else by capitulating.
But she very intelligently, she starts to think about his longer motivations. What is he actually after?
Yeah.
Because he's very erratic, but he's also clearly intelligent, and he's a manifestation of a primal emotion. It's got to have some kind of end goal that she's trying to suss out. For now, he seems to be enjoying himself, tormenting poor Harry. But before we see any more of that torment, the Doctor shows up again.
Yeah, well, you sure know how to bring a party to a halt. And
the captain has sent him in with an ultimatum. And suddenly the clown has his whole troop behind him.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Ultimatum! Ultimatum. She would give me an ultimatum?
Oh, I'm looking at the Jeeves now to see if their masks change again. I don't think that's the case.
Not here, no.
But yeah, it's such a weird un-Star Trek vibe here.
Yeah.
Right? Which is very upsetting if you're expecting Star Trek to always be spaceships and uniforms.
And basically he says you have 1 minute. Here's the deal. You let everybody go, you get to keep one.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll shut it off and we kill everybody.
And he keeps counting down.
52 seconds.
And he's so calm about it.
Mm-hmm.
43 seconds.
And I think he's absolutely right. I think at 0, Janeway would indeed pull the plug.
Yes, but he hasn't played his last card yet. The clown pleads, no, I need more time. And about halfway down the count, he throws in the final hook.
20 seconds. There is another provision. The one hostage you will be allowed to keep is Captain Janeway herself.
And suddenly the
clown...
goes
oh... She would choose to be with moi.
We haven't even talked about his makeup, by the way, or his costume.
No, I thought I'd spare you that.
Well, he's very weird for a clown.
Oh, yeah.
He's the least colourful character here.
Right.
He's all in greys.
Yes.
In fact, he looks like he's wearing like chainmail made out of.
He looks like he's wearing a dog suit where they took the ears and the nose off. What's that series called again? With not Harry Potter, but the other one,
Wilfred with Elijah Wood.
Yes, that's the one.
And Australian comedian who I forget in a weird dog suit as an imaginary man in a dog suit that only Elijah Wood's character can see.
That suit kind of reminds me. It's the same kind of like cheap fursuit costume that we're talking about.
It must have been such a weird thing to wear, but I guess
fluffy jammies. I guess with a cowl.
It looks so scratchy. Oh, I'm looking down at the scarf that I'm wearing right now, and it's kind of on theme.
It's got the right color for it. Yes.
We see Janeway making good on her promise. She's climbing into one of the empty
into the pods. Yes.
Pods. She's asking Kes to help her get hooked up. Meanwhile, the clown and all of his minions are preparing for her arrival. Dust everything. I want it to be spotless. I want it to be sparkling.
Yes, which is kind of weird because like you should be able to just like wish it that way.
Yes, but it's all performance, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yes.
And then everyone vanishes when Janeway arrives in this space.
Yes. So I wonder what that is. It's just like him wanting to like have some alone time with her.
I really don't know whether she's doing it or whether he's hiding everyone else so she can enjoy her surprise when they show up.
I think so, yeah.
But there's the hostages standing by the computer window. Also, haven't really described what they're like. They're fairly generic aliens of the week in terms of Star Trek.
And they don't have a lot of lines or other things. Just have a little bit of forehead and cheek.
Yeah, not to diminish Michael Westmore's and his team's fantastic work, but yeah, Star Trek did have a tradition of sometimes unremarkable aliens who are clearly just humanoids with forehead bits. So you know, we were kind of spoiled by Farscape.
Yes, absolutely.
Where everything is an exercise in extremism.
He seems, giddy almost, excited to have her there, and she's cool and calculating. She's kind of leading him on, I guess.
Because he's anticipating the moment that he's going to have power over her. But that's going to take a few minutes before he can
click into her brain. Yes, and for the time being, he has to take her words at face value.
I've known fear. It's a very healthy thing most of the time. You warn us of danger, remind us of our limits, protect us from carelessness. I've learned to trust fear.
And he's like,
finally, someone who appreciates me. Am I blushing?
Yeah. Because this sort of builds on the conversation that she had with the doctor, where she asked rhetorically, like, why do people like pursue fear? Why do they do holodeck programs?
Why do kids still ride roller coasters in this day and age?
Yeah. After all the kind of judgmental.
Yeah.
And the doctor correctly points out it allows us to experience the boundaries of our sensory world. And playing with fear is exciting.
Yeah.
Right? It's the most excitement that you can have, and it's thrilling. Especially when you know you can come back from it. There's a relief.
Yes. Kim and the other two get to leave. Body temperature is starting to normalize, coming up, and they will be out in 10 minutes.
And now she springs her trick.
I've been programmed to respond to you as Catherine Janeway would.
But I feel you. You're on the system.
She is on the system, yes. But not in stasis.
So my brain's hooked up so you can feel it and taste it. Taste those delicious brain meats.
But she's not dependent on the system.
Yeah.
And so there's actually nothing hooked up to the system except for this artificial construct that doesn't sustain it.
Nope.
And you can see the lights going down. And, the cloud is so sad. And there's this twirly sort of painted thing in the background that's turning around, spinning behind him as he's sort of realizing that his world is deteriorating.
Oh, yes. I see what you mean.
I read about the construction of this set required so much painting that the painting crew had to work all through the last weekend of January, thereby missing the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Ooh.
And there was a photo taken to commemorate like this momentous effort, which was like all the painters, I think they were lying on the floor with like their heads forming a circle and holding hands.
Oh.
Yeah. That is their trophy for really a phenomenal job. This whole set's amazing.
Yeah. Janeway comes out with a great line that...
You know as well as I do that fear only exists for one purpose. To be conquered.
And that's really insightful. Because, that is the sort of mortal experience. You're supposed to be afraid of things.
Yeah.
And then give that fear a place.
Yeah.
And to act in spite of it. To act sensibly. You know, you don't have to do the thing that you're afraid of. not doing the things that you're afraid of can be very sensible, but then you're being directed because you understand it.
And the clown is like, she tricked us.
Yes, he's very Gollum / Smeagol. And he's so sad, and he's so powerless, and the light begins to fade.
Yeah.
Marvin Rush it was a really fantastic choice, that everything just sort of goes a little quieter and a little darker as the system is, it's like HAL 9000, my mind is going.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
But also, how is his comment like? Isn't that why you allowed her to because you were supposed to be defeated? Which I don't think so, because it was.
Oh, but that's her hypothesis, that fear also needs to be overcome. That consciously or unconsciously, he actually wanted to be defeated, and he created opportunities to be defeated.
Okay, perhaps.
Like the very fact that he made these threats and he didn't really negotiate toward a compromise.
Well, he was very controlling. It's like, no, I want more. I need
exactly.
I kind of thought that was because, he doesn't know when one of them dies. He needs to have as many hostages as he can in order to ensure his own continuation.
Yeah,
and he's certainly not going to go on his own accord.
No, absolutely.
But I did love that comment that he makes right at the end.
It was very un-Starfleet of her.
Starfleet captains don't easily succumb to fear.
Oh, that was very good.
But yes, all fear eventually vanishes, and that is...
And he says,
I'm afraid.
I know.
Oh!
Drat.
And that's a fade out.
Drat is such a great way to end this.
Well,
this episode is amazing.
And it's a fantastic fade out. It's just like it fades to black, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing, no congratulatory sitting around in Voyager. No, this is it. It's like a fade out and end of the episode.
Oh, okay. Well, that sort of gets me to my deleted scene.
Oh, okay.
Which is not a funny joke.
No.
It's maybe they filmed like an ending to this, or maybe they wrote an ending to this, a come down where they all get to congratulate each other and recover and reflect on this and realize this is completely superfluous. Cut that, grab that completely superfluous opening scene from another episode just to pad it. That would have been a great choice.
Okay.
I don't think that's the case, though.
No. Okay. Well, my deleted scene is a little bit more lighthearted because
we have to explain it because it's accessible to new people.
Right. Yes, we always have a imaginary scene, a scene that ended up on the cutting room floor, which was not included in the episode. Mine is that on the soundstage next door, they were filming Spartacus, Blood and Sand, and that they got those extras in to have the the opening scene where Kim and B'Elanna are first walking into the.
Oh wow. Interesting time warp there. I think there's a time difference. No, multiple decades of time difference between Star Trek Voyager and as our
maybe
friend
15 years or something. That was around 2010, wasn't it?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, so about 15 years.
Or as I've heard it called, Spartacus, Blood and Spunk.
Yes, I wasn't going to go there, but if you're going to...
Oh, that's a good one.
But yes, lovely episode. I agree completely with if you either hate or love mad clowns, then this is a very strong episode.
Yeah. I really appreciate the insights of NoWay and Tonks, where the creation of this as a villain, because he's existentially threatened by safety.
Yes.
Right, by people being safe, is an existential threat to him, and it's completely rational for him to resist. And as Tonks pointed out, this episode is so surreal and strange, and it's not afraid to be that. I love it. I've really come around on this episode since first watching it and being made super uncomfortable by how far it diverges from the sort of format and formula of Star Trek. And yeah, I kind of like that it's such a big swing.
Yeah, and I have to disagree with IO9 as the sixth least threatening villain of Star Trek. Oh no.
Exactly, because he's malevolent and terrifying in a way that we all know none of the main crew are going to die in regular episodes of Star Trek, right? But we sort of overcome that, and we want to feel how afraid they are. And I genuinely feel these people were afraid of the clown.
Yeah. As for production, so you mentioned that my first thought this was a cheap episode because it takes place on two existing sets on Voyager, and they just needed this one stage painted up garishly, but apparently there was so much painting to do that it took the painting crew out quite a lot. Like my first impression was like, it's a simple episode. I mean, you have
all those props, all those costumes.
Well, that's a lot of thing. Yeah, like a lot of people. That probably took a lot of work to get doing this. There's a lot of people who are just like performing, like dancing with balls, ribbons. Yes.
Then you also hire like their choreographers.
On the other hand, you can just like tell them, like put them up in costumes and just like just go practice, like do pretty things. And
I think you'd want like someone with experience in to organize that, because they've got they've got fire safety to deal with, and all those performers know all that as well.
There needs to be blocking, to make sure that it's a visual appealing total that you get.
Yep.
And props to the fire breather who just kept going with his mask on fire in the background, and nobody.
Might not be the first time.
Odds are, yes.
And presumably, like, someone who does those kind of performances knows what's safe.
Yeah.
And what to do. And, Kay. Do you remember how, like, we've been looking for a new ending segment? I was suddenly thinking of, remember that new sound you were looking for? I've had an idea.
Okay, bring it.
I'm going to give you a little taste of an episode that I've picked for next week.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you some clues and see if you can get it. And it'll be a little game.
Okay,
that people can play at home.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, because at the end of the out credits, Chief Engineer Greg always tells people, what the next episode is.
Right.
But if you don't get to, then you're not going to find out.
Okay.
All right? So there's a little element of risk.
Yeah.
And then next week you can pick the one after that and you can give me some clues and see if we can get that. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. So here's a selection of lines from the episode that we're doing next week.
Yeah.
The first one is by Data. So it's Next Generation.
Yeah.
Sir, the purpose of this gathering confuses me.
Okay. Fairly generic.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Yeah.
Riker says,
Data, something's got me.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Still not there.
No. Okay. Next one is from Data.
I think you should be destroyed.
Oh.
It's a good line, right?
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like you could say something to a villain or something.
Right.
It's got me. Okay.
We've got three more. Worf says,
I will do my best, sir.
That could be any episode.
Okay, okay, fine. Liar. Deanna says,
liar.
Oh. Is it a Q episode?
Oh, good guess, but no, I can see why. Okay, here's the last one, which is probably like your best shot.
I would guess that death is no longer sufficient to alleviate its boredom.
Oh. It sounds like another powerful alien episode.
Yes.
Is it the... Oh, is it the episode where Tasha Yar dies?
Yes! Yes, dude, you nailed it! Skin of Evil. Oh, well done, Kay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, recommended by our friend Mark Nixon from the Shadows at the Door podcast. We'll hear his recommendation next time around. Yes, it absolutely was. And here, just as an extra treat, because this is the secret second component of this segment, let's hear those lines in order. Sir, the purpose of this gathering confuses me. Data, something's got me. I think you should be destroyed. I will do my best, sir. Liar! I would guess that death is no longer sufficient to alleviate its boredom.
Fantastic.
And with that, let's make like Beverly and leave.
I'm leaving
Starfleet. That's what we'll work on it.
I'm leaving Starfleet. Engage.
Oh, we're going to have to figure out how to do that. Maybe we should have...
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with friends Kay and Kaki, production and editing by Chief Engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amore. Like Kaki said, join us next time for Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 23, Skin of Evil. Visit us at joyoftrek.com/links to send your recommendations, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to The Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.